All right, 20,000 miles on the Model 3. Let's talk about it. So I've had the car for about 5 months now, going on 5 months, and I've got 20,000 miles on it, just over, and it's been an interesting road, to say the least. I can tell you that the car has been far better than I ever imagined it would be, and there are some negatives to it, and I'll be doing a video on the negatives to this car, as far as the things that really irritate me about it, and there are a few. So not many, but there are a few. But mainly I wanted to just kind of go over what the car's been like and my impression of it. So first of all, when I got this car, part of the reason that I started uploading videos on my channel about the car was because I knew that I would become sort of the Bjorn Nyland of the U.S. on the Model 3. For those of you that don't know, I suggest you research him. Bjorn is a YouTuber in Norway that put huge miles on a Model S over a number of years and chronicled his journeys. His journeys were fascinating, partly because of his communication style, and partly because being in Norway, it's so cold there. So he was sort of blazing a trail as far as super high mile Tesla, especially in cold weather, where cold weather is very, very hard on lithium batteries. So, but primarily he was just known for a lot of travels and shenanigans and huge miles put on a Model S. And so I really enjoyed his channel. I still enjoy it, and but I knew that being that this is an early car, 9,300 and some in the VIN number, and that I was going to put huge miles on it, I knew that there'd be a bit of interest just about not only the Model 3 in high miles, but some of the early cars as well. Do they have problems? And one of my previous videos, I showed some dents or like warpage in the rear glass. I mean, there are a couple bugaboos that I've run across in this car since owning it, but overall, it's been a wonderful car. It is more efficient than I was assuming. It's smoother and quieter than I was hoping for. It ticks all the boxes, and I would say that the car has really changed my life and my business. I have a couple small businesses that I just run by myself. No big deal, but a couple small businesses for which I need a vehicle that I can travel a large number of miles daily and very efficiently, because most of those miles are around town. So with a typical traditional gasoline-powered car, in-town miles are where they struggle the most. Now, I was previously driving a hybrid. My car previous to this was a Ford C-Max hybrid. I put 183,000 miles on that car within about 5.5 years, I think it was. Really a wonderful car. Enjoyed it. My 20-year-old son currently owns it, and he drives it every day. It's a great car. And hybrids are better in town than on the highway, which is what I needed. When I bought it, there weren't really any EVs that would give me the 250-mile range that I needed outside of a high-end Model S, and I didn't have that kind of money. At the time, it would have been, for a Model S that would give me that kind of range, it was just shy of $100,000. Did not have that kind of money, so I had to get a hybrid as a stopgap measure, which I believe is what hybrids were designed to be anyway. And it served its purpose as well. And but obtaining this car, it's been wonderful. And I was considering a Chevy Bolt, which in some ways would have been better for my business and my situation than this car in some ways. Those ways would be primarily, it's a hatchback, and that was the main thing. More upright seating position, just better for overall, I don't want to say commercial use, but just better for if I want to haul things and just the type of use the car would be getting. However, there were a couple of negatives to it, one of which was the 239 mile or 238 mile or whatever range was a problem. I have the occasional day that I need to go 250 miles, and stopping midday on those busy days was not an option. Number two, most days I drive about 150 or 160 miles, and in the wintertime I needed a car with enough range that the wintertime loss in range was still going to be well represented by the pack size and the distance available from the car. And also with that shorter range, you don't want to be charging an EV to 100% very often and discharging it down to 5% or whatever. That's hard on lithium batteries. So I wanted a car that the majority of the time I could charge to 80%, and I knew that I wasn't going to go below 20% for the vast majority of days I'd be driving it. And a 238 mile range car just wasn't going to cut it. But a 310 mile range car definitely would work for that. So what I do with my Model 3 is I have the charge limit set for 80%. You can see the charge line there. Let's see, set limit, and you can see they've got bars for every 10%. I have mine set for 80% state of charge, which this morning when I got up, it said 245 miles of range. And I've seen that a touch higher, I've seen it a touch lower. I think the battery temperature affects that. Also, for those of you that are curious, the couple times I have fully charged the car, at 100%, it tells me I have 307 miles of range. So it looks like, and now, sidebar, I never charged it to 100% when I first bought it. So I don't know what the initial capacity was. I'm assuming it was 310. But I have charged it to 100% 3 times in the last, say, 5,000 miles. Each time it stops at 307 miles. So either my battery pack was 1% down in capacity from the factory, or I've lost 1% of my capacity, which is a distinct possibility within the 20,000 miles. Now, a quick discussion on lithium batteries. Lithium batteries will tend to see an initial drop in capacity, and it's sort of a sharp curve, and then will level off. You'll lose a couple percent in capacity. It will level off, and your capacity loss, if the battery's cared for properly, will be much less per mile or per 1,000 miles or whatever after an initial loss. Now, I'm not 100% sure if that's going to be identical with these 2170 cells, but I can tell you that the 18650 cells that they used previously, Ben Sullins did a video on this where he showed that he plotted the curve and miles versus battery capacity of Model S's over the years, and you noticed a bit of a decline initially, and then that decline leveled off. Now, even if the decline were linear, so let's say 1% battery capacity loss per 20,000 miles, what that to me would represent in a linear, if that's linear, would be that this car will see a roughly 10% capacity loss over 200,000 miles. And I don't want to say that's acceptable to me. I don't want to accept any battery loss, but realistically speaking, there's going to be a capacity loss. So this car I plan to have for 250,000 miles, 250,000, at which point, more than likely, my adult daughter and her husband will probably end up taking over the car from me, I would assume, because at that stage in their lives, they'll probably need a decent car. They'll be able to afford a nicer used car, and this car would fit the bill. So, so that's sort of my assumption as far as what's going to happen with this car. And at that point, I'll purchase a new one. In fact, it's possible I may trade this car in on an all-wheel drive car. Before then, I don't know. But anyway, a lot of rambling. So but definitely it looks to me like I've seen a small amount of capacity loss in the battery, and that was to be expected. But again, I never fully charged it. It may be that the battery came with that capacity from the factory, and whatever. So all of that aside, overall day-to-day driving, I have a minor lower back problem, and sitting in a car seat and just driving in a car for long periods of time with my legs in this position, and I don't really get back pain, but I get a little bit of stiffness in my lower back. And in my C-Max, the lumbar support and the heated seat really did help offset that. It was wonderful. But this car takes it another level above that. It is very comfortable, and there's something about the overall smoothness of the car that's very calming just to the senses as a whole. And I've noticed less lower back issues with this car. Also, the seat bottom is longer. On my C-Max, the seat bottom was probably 2 inches further back, and the front edge of the seat would cut me at mid-thigh. They're very short seat bottoms, and I think that was for ingress and egress to allow foot clearance to get in and out of the doors. It's the only reason I could think of that they would do that, because the car was overall relatively comfortable. It had a more upright seating position than this, but it was comfortable. But this car is more comfortable, so I enjoy that. And the car, from a reliability standpoint, I had the charge port door replaced not long after purchasing it. That was a known issue on the early cars. And these A-pillar trims in hot weather swell just a little bit. They kind of warp some as they heat up and expand, and I've got a solution for that, but that's a known issue with the early cars. Other than that, it's been reliable. It's never left me stranded. And so my experience with the car is fantastic. I'm not going to do an update every 10,000 miles. Maybe the next one will be at 50,000, or maybe at 1 year, which will probably be 40 to 48,000 miles, something like that. Who knows? But I wanted to let you guys know I have 20,000 miles in the car. There are a few people on the internet have posted that they're in the mid 20,000s, and so I'm not the highest mile Model 3 out there, but I probably will be in short order. So anyway, that's my update. A lot of rambling, I apologize, but I love the car. I plan on continuing with my channel. I'll keep you guys updated. I just installed a dash cam. I know that the version 9 software in the car, when I get that update, has built-in dash cam, but there's some features to this Garmin that I really wanted that I don't believe that Tesla will have in this car. So that's installed, but I have to run the power wire. I'll do a video on that, and I plan on doing videos through the ownership of this car to give you guys the fullest experience that I can. Anyway, give me a thumbs up, like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and take it easy. You'll see my next video within the next couple days. Have a good one.